Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to the channel of Rules No Theories. My name is Joe and this video is gonna be really annoying because there's a lot of noise in the background. My house is still under construction and because it's maybe a little bit bigger than you guys can handle. But you know, that's not really my problem. It's so much noise. I hope you guys can't hear that. Like last time I complained about noise, then I edited the background noise and it came out. So maybe I'm just overreacting over nothing. Anyway, onto the video. I did write a script and you guys are going to go insane with my theories because I started writing a script on my computer and I wrote like fucking 5 pages or something of like theories and reflection and trying to digest everything and going back to the freaking night where all of these shenanigans happened. And I was considering that maybe Nikki was killed before, but it makes no sense. And I considered many things. Okay. I considered many things and then went on to a draft on paper. It was a whole thing. I genuinely think that I could crack it with just the information that we have now, and I can't. I feel like my brain is too fried for some reason, but at the end of the day, what I think is missing is a person that was in that room that we don't know about. Because initially I was thinking that it would be Nikki, Jay, Bash, Camilla, and the mayor. But then we see in this episode that Camilla met Nikki, and I will talk about it. That was so random. I will talk about it. She met Nikki and she asked him for a meeting with just her, Jay, and Bash to, figure out this whole bid thing for the casino. And I mean, it was implied that there would be no staff there, that it would be a private meeting, and that Nikki would be the staff. Would be like the barman because we see him being a barman and whatever. Oh my God, the noise is over. Great. So that's the implication, that it's the 4 of them. But we know that there was a doorman there because we know that Camilla mentioned that fucking doorman. So maybe the doorman is the 5th person there. But if the doorman would be the 5th person there, why would the doorman note down himself on his notebook of people at the casino? So I think there has to be a 5th person. And this whole time I've been thinking that the 5th person is the mayor. And it would make sense because if they want to finalize the bid, they probably need a mayor. But then I was searching because I'm not from the US, okay? I don't know which entities are responsible for giving out these permits, these contracts. So I was searching and it's not just dependent on the mayor. The mayor has to give his approval for the a location, whatever, but the permits come from the state, from a gaming commission in the state. So this whole time I'm thinking there has to be a 5th person there. There isn't the mayor that is responsible for actually giving these freaking permits or contracts, that has to be there to make the deal. I don't know. I'm going to go through all of my thoughts and my reflections and my doubts, and you guys can tell me what you think in the comments. I'm so sorry if this video turns out to be really long. I'm not recording a lot these days because I'm kind of doing a side quest for something. But I will always come back and record more videos. Eventually I'll get to some fun stuff. I'm preparing a few fun stuff. So yeah, let's get into the video. Let's analyze the episode. And thank you for listening to all my rambling. And if you stay here until the end, oh my God, thank you. First thing is the goddamn Easter eggs in the introduction. We see that Charles has this little cocktail bottle. That's the Easter egg in this episode, is a cocktail bottle in Charles's window. And it drove me insane. I watched this episode at least 5 times. And that goddamn cocktail bottle drove me insane because why is it in Nikki's, in Charles's, why is it in Charles's room? Because the cocktail bottle is used by Nikki to make drinks for Camilla as they have that flirtatious little thing. And listen, I don't really have an answer for why it's at Charles's window and not anywhere else, apart from the fact that Charles was interested in Sofia, so there's maybe a connection there, but I don't know why the bottle was there. I feel like this is a clue and I'm too into it to be able to figure it out, but then when it happens, I'm gonna be like, oh. And the Easter eggs for this season have been kind of a little weird like that, with the child that could be a clone in the previous one. I feel like they are dropping hints and we are just not seeing them. Like in season 1, when they reveal that tie-dye guy is Oscar, like, we know it's him from the intro credit scene because they like play it beforehand. But, well, anyway. Then we have another Easter egg, the 3 figures atop the Arconia, which is Mabel, Williams, and I'm assuming Loretta, but it looks like Lorraine. And my question is, if there's 4 ladies at the ladies' night, why are we only seeing 3 ladies? What is this telling us? And I will talk about Rainey later on, because I am confused beyond belief about the goddamn ledger. What was Lester's role during that night, and how in the world did that page get to Nikki and the ledger get to Rainey? And I will talk about it because it makes no sense. And I will come back to something that was revealed earlier in the season, because when I was watching a podcast with the actor that plays Howard, the maker of the show made a point of saying, yeah, we find out this, and it has to mean something. It has to be important for what happened that night. And I think I kind of maybe know how. I'll talk about it. But anyway, the phrase that starts the episode: for thousands of years, men have sung about luck being a lady. Men love to blame everything in their lives that they can't control on ladies. This can't be at random, right? What man in the show is blaming all of his problems on a woman is the question of this episode. The first thing we learn is that Camilla was into Nikki. And at first I thought, oh, she's manipulating him. She's the lady that says, yeah, I have to make my opponent believe he's playing a completely different game. And I don't know, because she seemed so genuine. She seemed to genuinely like him. And I do think that she maybe manipulated an aspect of her relationship with Nikki that I will discuss when we get there. But I don't think that she would have been the one to kill him. I mean, maybe, because Camilla, to a certain extent, is kind of looking like the mastermind. Because didn't we get the information that Jay goes a little insane if he loses from Camilla? Like, how much information about all of this have we been getting from Camilla? But also, if Camilla is a real suspect, getting an hint about it into episode 7, episode 8 is a little bit... Is it early? It is a little bit early, to be honest. But anyway, I don't think she was the one to kill Nikki, but she could still be the one who pushed Lester into the fountain. Because, I mean, if she truly loved Nikki and Lester was, like, caused his death or was responsible for his death or it was in any way involved in his death or something, it would make sense that she would want revenge on Lester. But then if she truly pushed Lester into the fountain and Lester was carrying the lever with the blood that he dropped while he was running away, and if she was implicated in the night that Nikki was killed, why wouldn't she pick up the lever? But also, Nikki was killed with a cleaver. So who was hit with the lever of the elevator? I'm going to keep talking, and if you can hear the noise, you're just going to have to forgive me. Imagine the night. There are 5 people at the casino, at the Velvet Room. It's Jay, it's Bash, it's Camila, and it's Nikki, and a 5th person, potentially the mayor, potentially someone else. And something happens, Lester is called in, because in the footage of the security camera, we see that he has his phone and he is a little concerned, so maybe this is when he goes into the Velvet Room for some reason. Nikki was killed with the cleaver. We see the cleaver. We see a person, like, waving the cleaver. And I will analyze that to no end because I'm confused about that scene and I will talk about it. But someone is waving a cleaver around, and the cleaver is the murder weapon that is used to kill Nikki. It's very clear the goddamn thing is on him. Who was the lever used on? Because if Lester, because Lester had his phone, and the whole thing I've been thinking since the beginning is that Nikki, tipped Lester to something. Like, something was going wrong inside the Velvet Room. Nikki texted Lester or sent him, I don't know, something somehow. And Lester used his little lever of the elevator that he still has. And previously we saw him using against an asshole who was, hitting on women or harassing women. So this is, his emergency weapon. This is what Lester uses in an emergency. So you can assume that whoever was attacking Nikki or making the situation explode or whatever, Lester was called into the Velvet Room to kind of, help calm things down. And he would have used his elevator lever. So maybe Lester hit someone inside the velvet room, but didn't actually kill them or just harm them in some way. And we haven't seen anyone like that. We haven't seen anyone harmed. We haven't seen anyone missing a goddamn finger. The way that I went back on so many episodes to analyze these people's fingers, I will discuss that as well. And it isn't anyone that we've seen, at least not like clearly seen. So what if there is a fifth person in the velvet room that we still don't know about, that will still be revealed? And this is the person who lost a finger because someone was like using the goddamn cleaver that eventually ended up in Nikki's chest. And what if this is the person that was actually hit with the lever by Lester as he was trying to calm everything down to help Nikki? But what I'm saying is there were probably multiple victims. The person that got hit with the cleaver, Nikki, the person who lost his finger. I mean, Jay also lost a goddamn finger. There was shenanigans in the goddamn velvet room, and then someone also got hit with the lever. I think this is why Lester was freaked out. He was trying to control things to help Nikki. Nikki eventually was overpowered and killed, and Lester thought, oh, I'm next. So he ran away with his little lever that he was using to protect himself. Someone caught up to him, pushed him inside the fountain, and then Randall picked up the lever. I still think as well that Randall might have been on someone else's paycheck, and I will explore it a little bit later in the video, because doesn't make sense that he would be on the paycheck of any of the billionaires. And I'll talk about it. But this is my, I'm sorry, this video is going to be very random, very confusing, and you're so free to click out. But yeah, the question that we'll keep for now is who could be this potentially fifth person and who is paying Randall? Why is my camera shaking? Anyway, can you tell that I'm feeling like a lot better? I've been shedding my baby house, and it's been a good shed. This was a really horrible period. But anyway, I'm feeling better now. In case you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Jo, and I consistently talk about how painful my periods are. I'm just a girl in the world. Althea is officially on the side of the angels, aka boring. If you've been watching my videos, you know that Althea was one of my favorite suspects. I really wanted her to be involved. And you know what? When we were watching that flashback sequence and we see that and we hear someone screaming and we assume it's Camilla screaming, it kind of sounded like Althea. Camilla is a very deep voice, you know? So Althea officially invites Mabel and all the ladies to go to the ladies' night, to Camilla's party, and I'm so confused by this whole thing because Nikki was paying Lester and eventually probably Randall to be able to use the velvet room in a clandestine way. He didn't want anyone to know about it, and he had Lester working the door to let people in and whatever. But in this goddamn ladies' night, who is working the door? Because we see that Randall is on apartment business with Charles and Oliver, and we see that little dealing lady ushering them in. Oh, this way, ladies. So who is working the door? Who is being paid for Camilla to use the velvet room? What is the organization here? Because technically the velvet room still belongs to Sofia Cacciamiglio's family, unless unless Nikki did sell it before he died. But did he? Does the velvet room now belong to Camilla? Is this why she has such a free range in organizing her nights there? And also, if she liked Nikki so much, why is she organizing a night there? Camilla? We know that it isn't the same staff because we know that Camilla closed the account of the company that ran the staff and the supply for the velvet room. So I feel like Nikki did sell the velvet room to her. I don't know how fast that shit goes because I will analyze the timeline of when he disappeared, when he met Camilla on the street, and when the Saturday night where he died happened. I will analyze it in a bit, but how fast would he have made a decision to sell it? And could he have sold it? Because didn't it belong to Sofia Cacciamiglio's family, to her side of the family? Was it in Nikki's name? It's confusing. I think I'm analyzing this way too much for the kind of show that it is, but I want to figure it out. Anyway, another thing that was driving me insane is the fact that we never see any preparations happen. Like we learn that there's going to be a ladies' night at the Velvet Room, but like we don't see any staff going in and out preparing things. We don't see like I mean we see the dealer during the night coming out of the room. That's like one person. Doesn't it take the whole day to prepare the goddamn thing? Where were they? Why weren't they going in and out of the Arconia? I feel like there's a secret entrance. This is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there's a secret entrance. I feel like there was another person there that you still don't know about. And those are my crazy theories, crazy delusional theories. Put them together in the comments for me, please. Oh, and another thing that I kind of want to point out, all the international flights were canceled in this episode. And for those of you who live in New York or in the US, please let me know if this is normal because I thought that was so goddamn strange. Like, was Bash involved in it in some way? What is happening? Is this just another hint that was dropped in a random part of the episode so that we wouldn't catch on to it? Or is this like just normal in New York? Because it's a big ass city for one whole airplane to cancel all their international flights. Isn't that a lot? So we bring in Loretta and Detective Williams and eventually Rainey as well. And they talk about why Camilla wears the gloves. And like for a fraction of a second, I was thinking, oh my God, was it Camilla's finger? Was it her finger? But sorry. Then I looked closely at the episode. I watched a few other episodes and it's just like, no, like she bends her fingers very naturally. Either she has a very advanced prosthetics from Bash, but I mean, if she has a very advanced prosthetics from Bash, anyone could have it. So anyone can be the person without a finger. So the inclusion of the finger is freaking useless. If that is the ending of the finger thing, that the person who lost the finger just has a really advanced prosthetics, I will be insanely mad because that is the biggest freaking clue of the entire season. And if it turns out it was a red herring because we couldn't have figured it out anyway because of the goddamn advanced prosthetics, I will be so pissed. But anyway, I discarded Camilla because she does bend her fingers very naturally. She never appeared to have any bandage on it like Jay has, so it doesn't look like it is Camilla. On an unrelated note, in this episode I realized that Oliver is to Only Murders in the Building what Dr. McSteamy Sloan is to Grey's Anatomy, and I don't know what to do with that information. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I will not explain why. I just realized that in this episode, and you're gonna have to deal with it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Should I do a whole video analyzing that? Anyway, the dry cleaners. The dry cleaners cleaned Lester's hat and brought it back. Oh my God, that rhymed. Can you guys tell I'm in a weird mood? I've been in bed for 2 days and I've been listening to this. Do you guys know about Bennington College and Donna Tartt? Oh my God. I'm going insane listening to this podcast and I'm so high energy. Anyway, that has to be a clue. Who the fuck cleaned that hat? Because oh my God, for a second I thought my light was moving. It's not. There's a lot of noise though. Who the fuck cleaned that hat and brought it back? I say with a cute rhyme. Actually, that's not a rhyme. Hat, back. No. Anyway, me thinking I rhyme when I don't. Oh my God. Who brought the hat back? And who thought, because we know that Oliver took the hat to the dry cleaners. I think he dropped it there. Did he? I don't remember. But I mean, who brought it back and put it on the little vitrine? Anyway, that has to be a clue as well. I won't be able to put all of this together. I will get to the end, to the final episode and be like, oh my God, I could have. Every freaking time. Actually, no. There have been a couple seasons where I was like, no, I couldn't have figured this out. Fuck you, Only Murders in the Building. Listen to what I wrote on my notes. And we get the mention of the elevator lever, only to see it again later by way of Loretta's expertise. She slayed in this episode hardcore. Oh my god. She literally got the information out of Camilla just like that. I was thinking this when I wrote that. But I was still wondering if Camilla was still playing Loretta's game. This is what I was thinking when I was watching the episode for like the third time. And I thought about it because this is gonna go back to a few episodes ago, to the goddamn fire. Who set that fire? Because we know that the fire was not an accident, because they made the point of showing us the fire and showing that it was not the whatever the fuck they said it was. It was not an accident. It was set on purpose. Like the electric kettle is what they said it was. It was not. Liars. You know, like a liar. Not me making John Mulaney references in 2025. Anyway, it was not accidental. It was on purpose. And it was probably Camilla to, you know, help Oliver make the decision to sell his apartment. This is my theory. It's been from the beginning. It's going to be until the end, unless it's proven not true. And then I'll change my mind. Oh my God. Look at that. So if Camilla was behind setting Loretta's apartment's fire to push Oliver to sell his own apartment at the Arconia and start anew with Loretta somewhere else, she would know who Loretta is. Or would it be one of those things where it's her minions doing it and then she doesn't know who she is? Because it doesn't make sense, because she just has to Google goddamn Loretta because she's an actor. So her face is on Google. And like Loretta walks in with that fake ass accent that she breaks while talking to Camilla, and Camilla doesn't notice it. And Camilla doesn't remember that this is the woman whose apartment she set on fire to push her husband to sell his apartment. I feel like she's playing her game. Like she's still doing what she said. I mean, that sentence of you have to make your opponent believe they're playing a completely different game is in the goddamn trailer. Anyway, people who think I'm wrong, please prove to me in the comments that I'm wrong. I mean, Camilla's reaction to telling this story felt very genuine. You know, the way that she's, you know, telling her of this unrequited love that then turned possible, but something happened with the fucking doorman that ended it. And I don't know if I believe the whole thing. So let's analyze her story in the flashback, starting with, because you see, I went a little insane. I was in pain and I needed something to distract me. And I thought, oh, I'm going to analyze this to a point where it's no longer sane to do so. And I made like this whole fucking collage. I make a collage. I might actually take a print screen of it and show it to you. But I made this whole freaking collage, right? Because we have a close-up of the hand. Maybe I'll put them, actually, I'll put them here. We have a close-up of the hand that is like weaving the cleaver. How do you say that? Swinging the cleaver. And the hand has the pinky ring, the pinky finger ring has a ring on the finger, and it's the ring that Nikki uses, and we see it because his hands are shown a lot in this episode while he is doing the cocktail in the street when he meets Camilla. We see Nikki's hands all the time in this episode, and he is wearing this goddamn ring. It's the same ring every time, and he's always wearing it, and it's in this finger. It's actually this hand. It's in this finger. However, and we're back. Guys, this is the north of Portugal. If you're not up to date in Portuguese politics, there's a lot of people moving into the country. There are a lot of houses being built and bought, especially in the interior, because the cities are absolutely unlivable. Anyway, I just went on a really big political rant that I'm going to cut out, but basically, and I went on another political rant. I'm going to cut all of it out. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, just research the housing crisis in Portugal and the gold visas. Let's put it like that. And I'm going to move on to the episode. And this whole political rant came about because the lights went out, because there's a lot of people moving into the countryside at the moment and they need to put more power lines and the lights go out sometimes. Anyway, Nikki's hands. The hand that we see in the flashback does have Nikki's finger, but the hand is not hairy like Nikki's hand is, and is not old like Nikki's hand is. I'm sorry that I'm saying this, but it's the truth. The hand that we see is not Nikki's hand. Maybe it's just an extra, like a person that they used for the flashbacks that isn't actually Nikki, but in my overanalyzation of it, want to say that is not Nikki. That is someone where is Nikki's ring. But then I looked a bit closer and I saw that the watch that he was wearing was also similar to Nikki's watch. And for example, Jay has a black watch, so it wouldn't fit. And for example, Bash has a black ring on his finger, so we would see it and it wouldn't fit. So it does look like it was Nikki's hand, like winging the cleaver around. And if it was Nikki's hand, how in the fuck did it end up in his chest? And another clue is that we see Nikki dressed on the day that he died, because we see Nikki handing Lester the envelope, and I went back to that episode and he is wearing the attire that we see the hand wearing. Oh, you can definitely hear that. We see Nikki wearing the same attire with like the white shirt and the black suit. So everything is pointing to the fact that this hand is Nikki's hand, apart from the fact that that is not the actor's hand. But I'm assuming that they mean to say this is Nikki's hand. So Nikki was potentially the one swinging the cleaver around. And I just hate it because I was thinking, oh, if maybe it's Jay's hand. It looks like a young dude's hand. Maybe it's Jay's hand and he like was humiliating Nikki, took his ring and whatever. But I don't know, because that's not Jay's watch. And I mean, he could have worn another watch to be fancy while going to this event. But would it have been a fancy event? Because it's just the three of them. And we saw the three of them together as well in another occasion. I think it's Nikki's hand. God damn it. So the question is, how in the world did Nikki go from swinging the cleaver to being hit with it on his chest? And what would arise such violence? Is it the fact that he was collaborating with Camilla and the other two dudes felt like they were losing, so he like picked the cleaver because he probably was behind the bar, you know, doing his barman business and whatever? Like, were things really riled up? Because if it is true that Jay loses his patience when he loses, he probably was going insane. And did Nikki pick the cleaver up from behind the bar, came outside the bar and was like, calm yourself down, boo. Because the cleaver doesn't stay there. Like, he takes it off and we can assume he has it in his hand. So how in the world did he go from his hand to his chest? Camilla can't fight. Bash is old. Jay is a nepo baby. He can't fight for sure. Who the hell else was there? If it was the what? Oh my god. Can you imagine if it was the robot? This would have been a murder at the end of the world all over again. If you have been here since a murder at the end of the world, you guys. That was my very first video on this channel. Because, I mean, who would have the force to overpower Nikki? Who was the fifth person at the goddamn casino? Because it would make sense if there is a struggle that Nikki cut off someone's finger and then that person overpowered him and put the cleaver in his chest. Who was it? And when we get the flashback of, we also hear the person screaming. And I mean, I said before, I thought that probably is Camilla, but maybe it's Althea. And honestly, it would not surprise me if it was Althea, because maybe she thought that this was another ladies' night and she was like casually at the Arconia and she saw the door open and she was like, oh, there's a ladies' night happening. I'm gonna go check it out. No one invited me. Why did no one invite me? And she goes in right at the moment where, and she screams, because that does not sound like Camilla screaming. Camilla is a very, like, as a girly, a 29-year-old girl with a low voice, I do not scream like that. And I know that Camilla doesn't scream like that either. So I'm very suspicious of who that scream belongs to. Am I going crazy analyzing screams? It's 45 minutes recording. I'm definitely going crazy. I haven't even made it through my second page of notes. Okay, I'm going to cut like 90% of this video. This is gonna be insane. Before, I think one of the last flashbacks, Camilla says, I didn't think I was this person. And I was wondering, the kind of person who falls for a fake mobster? Or the kind of person that manipulates her way into his heart? Because when Nikki was missing after he supposedly caught Sofia with someone else, Camilla just randomly finds him on the street and is like, oh, what happened? Who did she cheat on you with? Oh, what happened, baby boy? Tell me everything. I feel like she was behind it. And I was thinking of this whole goddamn thing. I did a whole timeline and I will go over it in a bit. It always felt strange to me that Sofia went to the trio so early on, especially when we know that Nikki had a habit of disappearing every now and then. So Sofia would have been, like, if he disappeared, Sofia would have been like, oh, he's disappeared again. He's gonna be back eventually, whatever. But she was seriously concerned. Like, she went to the trio, I think, maybe a couple of days after he disappeared. It was very early on in his disappearance, and I think she reported it to the police, like, hours or maybe a day after he disappeared. So he disappeared in such a way that she was seriously worried, despite the fact that he disappears all the time. And I mean, I was thinking, if this account from Camilla is correct, which I doubt it, to be honest. But if it is correct and he disappeared after he caught Sofia cheating, would it be possible that the cheating was arranged by Camilla and Sofia was surprised because she wasn't cheating? So when he disappeared, she thought, oh shit, I gotta go find him because, like, this is not true. I gotta go explain this situation, because we are told that they actually fell in love, that they were an actual real couple, not just a mouse couple. Oh man, noise. My reason is gonna go out the window with all this noise interrupting me. So I was thinking, maybe this is why Sofia went to the trio so early, and maybe this is why she reported him missing so early, because the circumstances that led to him disappearing were not normal and led her to be worried beyond, like, what is normal for them. And I mean, Nikki looked so distraught when he found Camilla on the street. When they found each other on the street, he looked so distraught. I mean, and he looked over his shoulder as well, like he was, afraid someone was following him. What was going on? Because Sofia comes from an actual proper mobster family. And I think the reason that Sofia gives at some point, or someone gives at some point, for Nikki to go missing is because he had a fight with one of his sons. And I'm thinking, is he like this, like looking over his shoulder because he's afraid that her family is going to come after him for some reason? Like, there's so many pieces in this story that don't fit. These people's, like, reactions and the way they behave does not freaking fit. I can't wait for the finale. This is gonna be so much fun. If they don't cover all the little plot tangles, I mean, honestly, it's gonna be another season of Only Word is the Building. Okay, let's look at who could have possibly missed the finger. It's not Jay, because it's the wrong hand. It's not Camilla, unless she has a really advanced prosthetic, which would make it possible for it to be anyone. It's not Bash, we've seen his hands, not the mayor, we've seen his hands, and it also can't be Randall, because he was he was wearing gloves, but he's like the gloves Camilla was wearing, like his fingers were moving very naturally. So either it's a very advanced prosthetics, or he's not the one who lost the finger, because we see both of his hands at Lester's funeral, and it was a few days after, maybe a week after the whole thing, so it wouldn't have been enough time for him to no longer be wearing bandages and no one noticing that he was wearing bandages and him wearing the gloves, and we see all of his fingers in the gloves, so it couldn't have been Randall. And my two theories were, they're going to introduce a new person, is going to be the fifth person at the Velvet Room, and that's the person who lost a finger, or it's actually Lester, the one person that we have no confirmation, because it was never really ascertained if he had 8 or 11 fingers. But then we see the goddamn video at the end. We see the video of him on the fountain, and we know that the finger that they have is a finger it's this finger from this hand. You can't see it, but this is my left hand. I think maybe in the video looks like it's my right hand, but it's my left hand. I think sometimes I confuse them. This is my left hand. And this is the finger that they have. They have a lefty finger. And in the goddamn video, when Lester is up against the goddamn fountain, whistling his little goddamn bird whistle, he does it with this goddamn hand. And this finger is visible. It's not Lester's finger. Who the fuck belongs to that finger? This is the biggest clue of the whole season. It's given to us on the very first episode, and I shit you not, we are not going to figure it out until the last episode. Someone is going to be introduced missing a finger, and it's going to be like, oh, we did all this theorizing all this time, and it didn't matter because we could have only figured it out in the last episode. And when Camilla meets Nikki on the street, Nikki just says that Sofia was cheating with someone pathetic. Immediately, I thought, Lester. But Camilla wouldn't have been able to manipulate Lester to do that. I don't know who could be the pathetic person. Because I also thought, oh, it's one of the sons. Are we going to have an incest plotline in the season? But that would be insane, so probably not. Why can't I figure this out? Dear watcher, dear viewer, if you've been watching other YouTubers who have figured it out, please leave me in the comments because my brain is fried. The fucking doorman. Of course, after watching that video at the end, everyone is thinking the fucking doorman is Randall. But what does Randall do with the lever? Does he get rid of it? Does he, make sure no one can find it to, figure out this whole thing? No, Randall hides it in Nikki's office at the Velvet Room. Or gives it to someone to hide in Nikki's office at the Velvet Room. We see Randall coming in the patio. He looks at Lester's body and he doesn't seem too surprised. He seems a little shocked, but kind of like he knew the body was there. Then he picks up the lever and he leaves, leaving the body there. It doesn't really look like he was involved. It looks like he was either around, heard the commotion and went to the patio, or like someone sent him there. I would be more towards the someone sent him there because he wasn't surprised that Lester was dead. He was a little, but he wasn't really shocked. Like he didn't run to the body and try to help him, So I feel like someone hired him or someone was paying him and he went there on their orders to get the lever and then they hid it in Nikki's office in the Velvet Room. No, wait, it was Jay. Jay is heading towards being Mabel's boo. And I feel like that would be a really good plot twist, like him switching up on Mabel and being the true villain of the story. But I don't know. This is probably the best love interest Mabel has ever had. Is it? But I'm thinking this is probably an actor that they want to keep for season 6 and make it an actual love interest for Mabel. That would be fun. I mean, come on. It's Logan Lerman. Literally, my biggest evidence that Jay didn't do it is that he's played by Logan Lerman. And that is insane. Bash would not hire a human. He would hire a robot. And maybe we will see that next episode. I will talk about it. Give me a second. Camilla was in with Nikki, so I don't think so. And I think truly it was Sofia who was behind Randall in some way. And when I analyze the timeline, you're going to be thinking, like I'm thinking, mess. Confusing mess. But when Camilla said the fucking doorman, it sounded like the doorman ruined her almost getting everything she wanted. And she could be referring to Randall killing Nikki. Absolutely. Like Lester could have gone in and then Randall could have gone in and somehow gotten the cleaver and, killed Nikki with it, and then Lester runs away. Maybe Lester tried to hit Randall with the elevator lever and then he runs away and someone intercepts him, throws him in the fountain, and then Randall gets up and gets still. I don't know. It could have happened like that. But I also think that the trio might be overlooking what Camilla really wanted, because what she really wanted was to run it with Nikki, or what she appears to want is to have the whole casino with Nikki and with Nikki's reputation and with Nikki's aesthetic. So it could still be Lester, because Lester is presented this whole season and this whole series as like an icon of the Arconia. We even have the whole documentary of the doorman in New York, and we even have the flashbacks of Lester being an institution in the Arconia. So if Nikki told Lester, oh, this, because he probably would have when he gave him the envelope of cash, you know, oh, this is going to be turned into a casino, like a new era, you can retire and whatever. I don't know that Lester would be happy with that. And I mean, Lester and Nikki have known each other for decades at this point, because Nikki is what? A vampire. So I can totally see the fucking doorman still being Lester, who at some point, in some way, convinced Nikki not to sell the casino, because that would completely ruin the Arconia as it is. And that could be the fucking doorman. And that could be maybe why he's called into the room, because Nikki is like, you know, I had this conversation with, and I don't think this is such a great idea and whatever. And I don't know, I feel like everything is pointing to Randall, and then it's gonna be Lester, like, destroying her dream of running her casino with her boo, her fake mobster boo. And also, if the cheating was planted by Camilla to make Sofia look bad, Lester, I mean, Rainey seems to be close with Sofia, and they've been working for like decades on that, so maybe they were a bit closer than we think, and maybe Lester would have argued in favor of Sofia, being like, no, she wouldn't have done that to you, no way that she would have, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe, like, in the same breath that he would argue for the preservation of the Arconia, he would argue in favor of Sofia, and, you know, against Camilla, and be like, she's a millionaire, she's a manipulative lady, you know, all this kind of shenanigans. So to me, it's still believable that the fucking doorman could have been Lester. And then we have to discuss the goddamn ledger, because it is kind of explained that Lester doesn't actually go in the velvet room, that he's just, you know, outside receiving people. So the records that he has on the ledger have to come from somewhere else. Because, I mean, we even go inside the velvet room during the ladies' night, and like there's no Arconia staff really in it. So you kind of have to wonder, how did Lester, you know, listen to these deals? How did Lester know about all of this shit? How did Lester, you know, I mean, he could have known of the people that walked into the Arconia by seeing them walk in, but so what if in some of these nights when this shit was happening, Lester went to the little dry cleaning place or any other store that has a connection between the vents, or what if there's another entrance? But here I want to talk about the vents specifically, because we see it. We see them, we see Oliver listening to, I think, Charles and Mabel through the vent in the dry cleaners. And when I listened to the podcast, the creator of the show made a point of saying, yes, we get the revelation or the information that the vents connect to the outside. So what if Lester, or if this is how he has so much information on what happened in the velvet room, because he actually listened into the conversations through the vents that exist, that link outside of the velvet room. And I mean, he's been working there for decades. If there's one, there's probably more, and he probably knows about all of them. This could be how Lester was like writing in his little ledger all this information about these people, and how in that night, that Saturday night, even though he wasn't inside the velvet room, or wasn't for the majority of the night, how he listened to it and recorded the little amounts that they were bidding. I even thought that maybe Lester could be working with the mayor, because the mayor was tired of Bash and wanted to get rid of him, and there's that documentary about the doorman holding the secrets of the buildings. And I thought that maybe Lester could be working with the mayor somehow, but I'm not sure how to link that stuff. So I'm just going to give it the theory and you guys can work it out. But then the question is, how did the page in the ledger get into Nikki's mouth? Because Nikki was killed in the velvet room, clearly, and then brought to a freezer, and then brought to the dry cleaners. And I mean, clearly this was all arranged by the billionaires, because they had arranged for the police to go there. They had arranged for press to be released about the event. They had arranged it in advance to such an extent that the press still published that he was found hanging in the dry cleaners, even though he was found on the floor. So they arranged this whole thing. They were probably the ones who cleaned the body and everything. Or were witness to it. Something. I feel like Bash is behind the whole police thing. So if they were behind handling the body and putting the body there and whatever, they were also probably behind putting the ledger page there. Or were they? Because the ledger page incriminates them. So I'm thinking that if the mayor wanted to get rid of Bash, and he was in the know about the whole thing, because, I mean, this Bash is paying for the mayor the same way he probably pays for the police. So he could have asked mayor for the help, and the mayor would probably had known what was happening. What if the ledger was with the mayor because Lester was working for the mayor to try to help to get evidence to fuck these billionaires off of the map? What if the person who put the ledger page on Nikki's mouth was the mayor? And then his plans were fumbled because the fuck-ass trio got the page instead. Does that not make sense? That Lester was spying on the billionaires through the vent at the dry cleaners, and he was taking those notes for the mayor, and he maybe hid the ledger somewhere, agreed before with the mayor, so that's how the mayor got the ledger. And then because the mayor is involved with the billionaires and would know about the plan to hang Nikki at the dry cleaners, he would know where to put the page on Nikki's mouth to incriminate the billionaires, and he got the ledger from Lester, and after he put the page there, he gave the ledger to Rainey. And that's how Rainey had the ledger and how she gave it to Randall. Am I going insane? I am once again going to go insane. This video is currently at 1 hour and 10 minutes. You are never gonna watch this until the end. And you know what? Now that I'm gone this whole way, I'm just gonna go all the way to 2 hours. Okay. Camilla, Jay, and Bash have known Nikki for years. They've been going to the Velvet Room for years and making shady deals there for years. Why is there so much noise? I think they're doing the, how do you call that? Insulation in the walls. Anyway, some time ago, Bash started, thinking about this whole casino bid. There was probably some permits or contracts were made available, or however those things are done by this state gaming commission or whatever. And Bash was working on getting these permits for this casino. And then Jay got involved because his ego needs to have, I don't know, an upgrade, and he started to get involved with it. So he was competing with Bash for the bid. And then Camilla, another bored billionaire, obviously gets in the competition for the bid. Then Camilla proposes to partner with Nikki to turn the Arconia into the casino and make it like old school and a partnership with Nikki, but Nikki wouldn't sell the Velvet Room because of his beloved wife that he wrote horrible poems for. So then Nikki catches his wife cheating and disappears. And his wife declares him missing within hours, and the whole city is looking for him. And this is the day that Glen dies. So let's start the timeline here. We know that Saturday was the day of the wedding and the day of the meeting at the Velvet Room and the day of the killings. And we know that when Camilla met Nikki on the street, she said, let's arrange a meeting for Saturday. If it had been Friday, she would have said, let's arrange a... Oh my God. Did you see that spit? I'm going to keep that in. If it had been Friday, she would have said, let's arrange a meeting for tomorrow. But she didn't. She said, let's arrange a meeting for Saturday. So this was probably Wednesday or Thursday. So Wednesday or Thursday, Nikki, okay, I'm moving on to physical notes. Let me put them up. Nikki catches Sofia cheating and disappears. Sofia reports it, and Camilla spots him and makes the deal. She might have spotted him like on Thursday. Then Thursday or Friday is when Mabel sees it on the news when she's in the hospital getting the news that Glen died, which is only about his disappearing. And the news at that point, so Thursday or Friday, says that the police doesn't suspect foul play. They mention a rival gang, but they don't think he's dead. They think he's disappeared. Then on Saturday morning, we get the wedding. Lester is there because on Friday, on Friday when Glen died, that's when the trio then went back. Mabel went back to her apartment, found Marshall, and the whole shenanigans happened. So then the next day, or assuming, is the morning of the wedding. Lester is there and like he's chilling out at the wedding, and eventually he meets Nikki, and we have the little photo of him meeting Nikki and receiving the envelope with cash. And we know that Nikki is already there at the Arconia, so it's possible that he's already at the Velvet Room preparing the night, because as Camilla said that it would only be her, Jay, and Bash. I don't expect there'll be any staff, so Nikki is probably going to be like serving at the bar. So what I'm thinking is the wedding is happening, the morning is the wedding and then the reception, so they would bring out the food for lunch, brunch, something like that. So the shrimp would be lying around. Nikki would be there. Nikki would be the only staff working at the bar for this meeting. So maybe Nikki was the one who took the shrimp to the Velvet Room to, serve the billionaires somehow. So we don't really know, when the meeting is happening, when the guests are leaving, but we know that the guests leave later, in the evening after they've already ate a lot and danced a lot and people are going up to bed. We see Mabel and Charles going up and it looks like it's night because there's no natural light. So I'm assuming that when they go up, they go into the elevator and they pass by Uma, it's already evening and they're leaving the wedding, and Oliver and Loretta already left. So it's like the end of the night. So I'm assuming that either everything is starting to happen at the Velvet Room, or they're waiting for the guests to leave to arrive, or they are arriving through a secret entrance. But basically, I think that the shenanigans probably happened after the guests from the wedding left. And when Mabel and Charles are going up to go to bed is when we see Sofia. And by this point, Lester is already gone. So either he's preparing to spy on them, on the dry cleaners, and he left Randall in charge, and because Randall is new, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, so he's rushing everywhere, or Lester is inside the Velvet Room with Nikki for some reason. But I feel like if he was inside the Velvet Room, it wouldn't be while the billionaires are there, unless, my whole theory about Lester convincing Nikki is right and Nikki brought him in to talk about it. But I feel like Lester being missing could only mean that he's in the Velvet Room or maybe somewhere else, the dry cleaner spying, and which would mean that the shenanigans are already happening. This is my doubt about when everything happened. Did the meeting at the Velvet Room start while the wedding was still happening? I mean, how would they have gotten in without anyone seeing? Is there a secret entrance? What is going on, or a mess? But anyway, this is more or less what was happening. And Sofia finds Mabel and Charles, and she says such interesting things. She says her husband was Nikki, if you believe the news. So basically it implies that the news are already saying that he's dead, which is strange because this is Saturday, right? And on Thursday or Friday, when Mabel was at the hospital, the news were saying there was disappearance and potentially no foul play. They weren't assuming that he was dead. So what the hell happened for the news from in 1 or 2 days to change from he has disappeared to he's probably dead? And is it being influenced by Bash? Because we know from the news about Nikki being found that Bash influenced the news, because the news reported that Nikki was found hanging in the dry cleaners and he was not. He was found on the floor. But the news were already prepared to report it, so they reported as they were told to report it. So I'm thinking, was the news being influenced by Bash? And is this why Sofia told the trio that the news are already assuming he was dead? The details that I'm noticing are insane and potentially not relevant. But anyway, she also says his disappearance has everything to do with the Arconia. So it has to be about the bid. And she has to know it is about the bid. Is this why he was looking over his shoulder on the street? Because he maybe told Sofia about the thing, and Sofia was like, yeah, if you try to sell that, my family will come after you, motherfucker. And is this how Sofia knows that his disappearance is about the bed? And also, if Nikki really left Sofia because he caught her cheating on him, why would Sofia be looking for him and say that it is about the Arconia? If he's disappearing, if he has disappeared because he caught her cheating, why would she say that it's about the arconia? Camilla was lying. She was lying. And if Randall did it, why would he hide a lever in Nikki's office and not get rid of it? You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that Randall was in the know, like, because Lester hired him after the fourth death. So there's no way in hell Lester wouldn't have told him about all the shitty business going on in the Arconia and prepared Randall for it. So if Randall knew, he knew about Nikki and potentially knew about Sofia, or Sofia knew about Randall. I mean, Sofia is also close, maybe with Rainey, probably. So Rainey would have told her about Randall. So all these people are in the know about what the fuck is happening and who is involved. So what I was thinking is that Randall probably is working for Sofia and hid the lever there because Sofia says another interesting thing. She says, I cannot safely investigate this by myself. So I think that Randall picked up the lever, hid it in Nikki's office after everyone had left on orders of Sofia, because then Sofia would ask the trio to investigate. Sofia was the one who gave them the cards to get to the Velvet Room. They would go there, they would go in Nikki's office and find the goddamn lever. And also, Camilla, you're organizing an event at this room and you don't go into the office to see the goddamn murder weapon? So anyway, I think Sofia was behind Randall, hiding the lever there, and then telling the trio to go there, giving them the cards so they would find the lever and would start connecting the dots. And yes, I still think the story that Camilla told to Loretta is somewhat true, somewhat false, and I mean, we can't be sure that Camilla was behind the fire at Loretta's apartment, but come on, how convenient. This is what I'm saying. She knew who Loretta was, she played her game, and she gave her the information she wanted to give her to, get the suspicion off of her, because if she loved Nikki, she wouldn't have killed him. And we also need to think not just in terms of time, but in terms of place. Because put yourself in Sofia's shoes, will you? You are married to Nikki. You come from a mobster family and you gave Nikki the Velvet Room to run. You know about the Velvet Room to such an extent that you give the trio the cards with the clues to get to the Velvet Room, the cards that Nikki never left without when he left the house. And you go to the Arconia to get the trio to investigate his disappearance. And you don't go to the Velvet Room? This does not make sense to me. Why wouldn't Camilla go to the Velvet Room? And also, Camilla, kill me, Sofia is Nikki's wife. So potentially she's been at the dry cleaner. So potentially she knows about the goddamn vents. Was she witnessing the whole thing through the vents? Is this why she immediately went to the trio? Like she got Randall to put the weapon? But no, because Lester was killed after everyone went to bed. So all of this had to happen after the wedding. So Sofia had to be there before all the shenanigans in the Velvet Room happened. Or maybe they were happening as the trio were going up or something. But my point is, location. She was there at the Arconia. Nikki's disappearance has everything to do with the Arconia. Okay, boo, and you don't go to the Velvet Room while you were there? She knew. She had to have known. Like, she had to have known that Nikki was dead already. Wait a minute. No. Because if she went to the dry cleaners and she saw his body hanging there, she wouldn't have taken him to the freezer and then put him there again. No, that has to be the billionaires. But why didn't she go to the Velvet Room? So yeah, this was my mess review. I still think there's a fifth person we haven't met that is missing a finger and potentially has a concussion from Lester's lever and will be revealed in episode 10. But I also want to talk about the next episode. The next I will keep the whole thing in. The next episode is called Lester, as in Lester the Robot. And this is the episode where we're going to get the whole thing with the fridge, with him getting the finger, and with him spying like on all of these people and getting all of these secrets and whatever. And you know what I've been theorizing about the finger? Like it makes a lot of sense what people are saying, that it was the robot that went to the fridge, he got the finger and all that. But when we meet the billionaires at the mansion, they say, or Jay says, you have no idea what we had to pay to get this finger. And it kind of implies that they paid money for the finger, that someone at the Arconia sold them the finger. And I immediately thought, Howard. It has to be Howard. But then I was thinking, who's the klepto at the Arconia? And it wasn't Uma, the one who sold the handkerchief to Dicky or the super fan or something like that. Wasn't it her who kept stealing things in the Arconia? And I don't know how she would know that the robot has a finger. But if I see someone selling something out of the Arconia that shouldn't have been out of the Arconia, I see Uma. So literally my suspects for whoever was this intermediary person between the Arconia and the billionaires getting the finger are Howard and Uma. Maybe an alliance, since now Bunny is gone. By the way, side note, now that I'm listening to the Bennington podcast, I cannot believe that Bunny was a person. Jesus. Can you imagine your classmate from university writes a book, puts you in the book as a character, and then kills you? Should I do that? Anyway, this is my review. It's too long. No one's gonna watch this till the end, and whatever. Please, if anyone watches this to the end and figures it out and has the answer as to what the hell happened at the Velvet Room, if it was the betrayal between Camilla and Nikki and then Jay losing and going insane in a mess that ended up with Nikki, on the table, and then Lester came in with a lever and there was a commotion, someone lost a finger. I just realized what I'm saying. Someone lost a finger, Jay lost another finger, the cleaver wound up in Nikki's chest, Lester panicked, he ran away, someone came after him into the fountain, and then Randall, the